6:30, I'll call this meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Seeing none, I have no remarks. Open public comment for items not on the agenda. Jim?
The Planning Commission, by consensus, thought it might be a good idea for one of the select board members to be on the Planning Commission as a member. And Brandon says he wouldn't mind doing that, and we're in favor of that. If you guys want to appoint him to the Planning Commission, we'd appreciate that.
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Jim? Aye. Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Brandon. Yes, Don?
Information regarding the constable.
You got that on here?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Speak up, sir.
Speak up. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Don Rosinski. I am the newly elected constable. That being said, it's kind of like being a guard dog without teeth. Can I explain it any better? But unfortunately, I think the position of constable in the town, and probably a lot of towns, has not been utilized to the point that it should be. And I have ideas. Two of them are a neighborhood watch program, and the other one is a firearms safety program within the grammar school. We all know all of these terrible incidents that have happened over the last several years, and I believe that education is probably the best way to avoid these from happening in our school. It's plainly obvious to see that, you know, the federal government will do anything to protect our congressmen and our senators and so forth, spending millions, if not billions of dollars on them. But when it comes to our kids, there is nothing. Nothing. And I think that's pathetic. So what I'm proposing is not anything new. It's been around for over 20, if not 25 years for that program. And the other thing, the neighborhood watch, I think is long overdue for Vernon. It's not a big expense to the town. I personally am willing to give my time to get it initiated and look into the cost of signage and so forth. But it has been proven nationwide to be a very effective way of countering outside problems from coming into town, you know, robberies and break-ins and such. The other thing is, being as I'm the constable, there are several small areas that I can kind of act as a deterrent, if you will, to problems that we have had continuously over the years in the town. Basically, I'll point to a couple of them, but one of them, the big one, is the Lily Pond access area being used as whichever way people wish. And since I was elected, even though I have not been appointed to do such, I make it a point to cruise through there, because it's right in my neighborhood, and keep an eye on what's going on there. And the Conservation Commission, and I believe would back me up on this, that we need some kind of signage and so forth down there to try and perpetuate people to pick up after yourselves. We have, you know, there's a joke going on in my neighborhood, and I'm sure my neighbor here, Carlo Rossi is the joke. And Calarasi is the wine bottles that they find there every so often. So somebody likes to go down there and drink Calarasi wine. And I have no problem with that, but pick up your damn bottles when you're done. So anyway, my look at this constable position is almost as much of a, what would you call it, a ambassador to the town. To show people that we have a lot here, and by simply obeying a few small, simple rules, we can keep the Lily Pond and other areas free from trash, and make them places that people will like to go to. I can tell you that just since I started kind of patrolling that on an unofficial basis, it's amazing. The people I talk to are absolutely elated. They said, well, we never had anybody say anything to us before. And they love to go out there and kayak and fish. And I tell them there are certain things that are not really allowed there, like campfires and overnight camping and that kind of thing. But when I approach them and I tell them, well, I'm the town constable, they say, really? What can you show me to prove that? I've got nothing. I've got no hat, I've got no badge, I've got no card, I've got nothing to back my statement up that I am here. And I'm not here as a law enforcement officer. I'm already well aware. I kind of looked at this whole thing before I stepped up to the plate. And I really feel that a constable position in towns is like a historic thing. And we have not had an opportunity in this town to utilize it, probably because most of the people that have been constables over the years have been people who are working, and you know, they got a whole 8-hour day ahead of them and probably cannot deal with this. Being as I'm retired, I have a little more time. And I have spoken to the Windham County Sheriff's Department and got a good feel for their program for animal control, and thank God it's something that I think the town will be able to utilize, especially when it comes to animal abuse calls and stuff like that. And I let Mark know that I says, you know, Mark, I don't want to be called at 2 o'clock in the morning for somebody with a dog problem when you guys are being paid $60 some odd $100 a year to take care of that thing. But aside from that, I would be more than happy to do anything I can to help out. And I just ask that there be some form of identification, whether it be a card or a hat or whatever, that I can, you know, when I talk to somebody and then they say, well, who are you? Well, I'm the town constable. And like I said, it kind of makes you feel like a guard dog with no teeth. At least if you can show them something and say, hey, this is who I am. And I'm not here to be a law enforcement person. I'm here to make life easier on everybody, to make this a better place to live. And I firmly believe that the ideas I have regarding some grammar school firearm safety and the whole idea of neighborhood watch is well overdue for the town of Vernon. Thank you.
Thank you. Never had neighborhood watch from Dennis this year. Areas. Thank you very much. We will try not to make trouble. Yes.
We can save you on my street, right, Tim? We can save him the town a bit of money. We already have a sign that says Neighborhood Watch. And Tim here, right, the guy right in front of you, as far as I know, is my contact for it. It's kind of inactive right now, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that sometimes it just kind of comes up on you.
Yeah. It's there, the sign, so we can save you some money.
I'm not interested. I'm not interested in spending money. My whole idea is to try and do this. One of the reasons I stepped up to the plate is because we all know that people don't like to spend money in town, and I don't blame them. I'm a taxpayer like everybody else. But there are certain things that I take a high priority of. One of them is safety with our kids in school. That is probably my #1 priority. And I don't believe that by refraining from telling kids about firearms that you are going to save them. When they understand that these are not toys and they understand how to handle it when they find a firearm, the simple rule is if you find a firearm, leave the area, tell an adult, and from that point on, the adult will take care of the issue. There's several things that come up with that, and I never gave it a thought until people talked to me about it. Said, Don, you know, what do you mean? Leave it alone and tell an adult. Well, let's say, for example, that firearm was used to commit a crime. If you've got people sticking their hands all over it, that's not a good thing. And I don't have any issue with people being afraid of firearms because, unfortunately, in this day and age, we have a severe thought that guns are the problem. But we all know it's not the firearm. That's an innate object, and somebody has to pick it up and do something with it. So, getting into the kids' minds that leave it alone, leave the area, tell an adult, very basic, simple language, and they can understand that, and I think down the road it would help us out greatly.
Thank you. Tim, do you still have those cards from the state that when someone's elected, you can issue them with a seal?
I think I can do that.
They were yellow and green.
What's that?
They were yellow and green.
I will check.
Thank you very much, Don.
Thank you.
Treasurer's quarterly report. Ms. Cindy?
Hi. Okay, as you all know, taxes are due May 4th, so we're getting real busy right now. Lots of people dropping stuff in the box out front, few come to the door, stuff like that. So just a reminder to everybody that taxes are due. And, because people, they forget. Even though there's a sign out there, but it keeps falling over, so. And the ARPA reporting needed to be done for the end of March, so I wanted to report that has been completed.
Thank you.
And as a part of that, I did a spreadsheet for you guys, so you can see what's going on with the funds. I can get it. Now, this does not include everything that you have authorized. It only includes what we've already paid out.
All right.
So there's still some fire department things. The truck that David just picked up today. It's a white Silverado.
Oh, good.
Thank you. So the bottom line balance remaining is where it stands right now, but you have to bear in mind that there are those things.
So the truck's gotta come out of that,
The truck,
the 480?
yes.
Okay.
And that was 40.
Okay, that's fine,
Okay.
okay, so I
So
get it. So-
This is what I reported on for this go around.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So that's completed. And then I'm working very hard with M&T on our investments. Lori, my contact from formerly People's Bank, got me in touch with somebody from M&T. And what I know so far, he's been trying to get the advisor from Wilmington Trust, who they deal with, it's a part of their company, to get me some more information. But so far, they've given me a couple of things. One is there's an option to sell the assets we currently have and reinvest them. However, if we do that, that means if right now those assets are, instead of 100,000, 98,000, that's what we would get if we take them before they mature. The other one is to establish a custody account, kind of the same thing that was done when we left People's Bank, and they would take over the ones that we already have. And then as they become due, they would contact us and let us know, advise us as to what we should do. He said right now the yields on the money market accounts are 4.4 to 4.50%. And then he said there are other options outside of the Wilmington trust, and that would be to, as they mature, we could put them into CDs or invest in US Treasury bonds. However, that's not all the information. I've been in close contact with him. I spoke to him yesterday, and he's still working on it for us. So that's where that stands right as we speak. But it is being worked on. And I have a number of residents who have expressed a concern about this, and I want them to know that we are working on it. We're aware there's a problem, and we're trying to fix it.
Excellent.
And then the third thing, that's, something came up when we voted at town meeting to increase the amount people are getting when they respond to a fire. We were paying $5, a $5 gift card every time someone was called to the fire. And that was fine, it was considered mileage reimbursement. They've increased it to $15 per call. That is no longer considered mileage reimbursement. And she sent me this thing, it says, to remain tax-free, the value of all of these items must be analyzed and controlled. Excuse me. Determining the amount will avoid creating a taxable event. So, she said,
$5 right there. Well
an
played.
appreciation gift of cash or cash equivalent such as $25 gift card is always taxable in the view of the IRS. Therefore, our choices are this. Everybody has to fill out a W-9, and I have to send everybody a 1099 at the end of the year. If it goes over $600 per person. Or we have to do it through payroll, and they have to do the payroll paperwork. So I did another spreadsheet for you guys. I just love doing them. It's so exciting. And this shows you, I did mileage from the furthest points around town. It shows you what the miles are coming, round trip, and what we would pay out if we use the current rate, federal rate, which I double checked. And then I did on the bottom part.
I'm walking, I live across the street. I don't take that money anyway.
I know you don't. On the bottom part, I did the people, some of the people that live in the town that I knew their addresses, that got cards last time, to show you what they would get each time they're called out. If we did the mileage reimbursement, which is 0.655%, or cents. So, what we have to decide, and I have not discussed this, I felt I should come to you guys and ask you your thoughts on it before I brought it up to anybody else.
Poor firefighter 5, 10, and 15, they took the short end on that $5 there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
So that's their mileage to the station, right?
to the station and back.
Yeah.
Back to their home. I did, those are people that actually did get some
yeah,
this last time. So you figure that's one trip, okay? If we're talking people, we have people that, well, we have two that did, one did $230 worth,
yeah.
and one that did $235 worth. And if you times that by 3, and then you times that by 4 for a whole year, you're talking some money. And it has to be reported. Because it's no longer considered mileage reimbursement, it's considered to be a benefit.
They're worth it.
Can we call around to some other towns? Because I think even moving that up, we are still way lower than any other town. How are they getting around it?
I don't know, but we can't. I double checked with my auditors,
I'm
and they
just
were
saying,
like,
that's why don't you call other treasurers to find out how they do it?
okay, I can do that. They may be doing, I don't know
Yeah,
how they're
that's
doing,
what
but
I'm
they
saying.
may be just doing mileage
Yeah,
reimbursement.
well, the other thing too is, I would imagine to a one, the firefighters that we have in town spend a considerable sum out of their own pocket to get their own, not their own gear, but just, they do on fire department related stuff. They pick up some screws or whatever, you know.
Well, we can reimburse people for screws.
Or we can just pay them, and it may become taxable for them. They don't take tax out and they have to cover it with their deductions, and they can do that under their charitable deductions every year.
But it is reportable, I have to report it to them.
Right, you have to report it,
Yeah.
certainly.
So it becomes where they would have to claim it on their taxes. And yeah, they could turn around and donate it somewhere else, but it won't necessarily offset it.
Well, but you might, yes, but between the mileage and whatever else you do for the fire department during the course of the year, buying screws or whatever, you subtract that from your, you know, you get to write that off, and it balances it, shouldn't it negate itself?
Don't you have to have a certain amount of charitable contributions?
It wouldn't be charitable, it would be, well, so if you give somebody a car allowance as opposed to the car, they have to be able to show that they use that car for the amount of money that you're getting for the,
Right.
right, but it's not taxed, you just have to show that you utilized it, because it
Yeah,
has
but
to be reported.
it goes through your company that way.
Yeah,
Then it becomes, you have to keep track of how many miles you went, how much
Right.
of gas you used. That's not the same thing as what we're proposing to do. We're proposing, it's not going to be like we're reimbursing them for fuel, because it's way more than they would get.
yeah. Okay,
I just don't know how you want to hit, I would
I would
be
set out-
happy to check with,
He called around before he even thought about amounts, and we are the most underpaid one around.
oh, I believe you.
So-
Absolutely believe it.
That's why I say I would see what they're doing, because other towns are giving more money to their people, they obviously are doing something to.
Yeah, I did check with the auditors. This had happened to us before. I don't know if you remember, Sandy, when we got gift cards to Price Chopper, and we got $25 gift cards, and they had to go through payroll, so we got taxed on it, you remember? And this is way more than $25.
Yes.
So I did double check with the auditors, because I didn't want to speak out of turn, and they said, this is what they told me.
okay.
So I just want to make you aware, and I would be happy to call Brattleboro, Guilford.
Well, Brattleboro's not a volunteer.
Oh,
Guilford's
that's
their own department. You have to find one that.
Guilford's volunteer, right?
Guilford owns their own department. You have to find one that the town owns
Oh.
the department.
They own it.
So Putney,
Can we sell you guys the department?
I don't know how that works, but there is, yes.
You have to do all that.
So the auditors didn't have any
Wilmington, yeah, a little
workaround
smaller.
solution for you?
No, they said, you will either have to proceed through with a W-9 and a 1099 or a W-4. That was what they said. Because the $5 ones, as you can see, we kind of could do that.
just send them a 1099.
Yeah.
That's probably how a lot of the other departments get away with it, is they're their own company,
Yeah,
and the town just gives them that much money every year, and they can do what they want with it.
right. So, anyway, those were the big things going on right now.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
So if you can just discuss it amongst yourselves, and let me know what you want me to do.
Okay, let's start to find out.
Thanks on that.
I will call.
Thanks for this.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you.
The town admin's report.
It's a little bit long this time. I've applied for 5 of the additional opioid settlements, Teva, Allergen, Walgreens, Walmart, and CVS. I also requested an extension on our municipal planning grant, the outdoor recreation master plan. There's a lot of towns who are not able to get consultants or anyone to do the work. And I don't want to rush us through the process, and I know the deadline's coming a little bit quicker than, than we would like. So I did get an extension through February of next year. The road commissioner, Shane from the highway, and myself have marked out the location of the generator in the LP gas parallel to the Barrows Road. So if anyone's interested in seeing where that's going to go. By the way, the LP gas tank is going to be about 20 feet long, and we're going to have to bury that. So just an FYI on that one. I've held 2 personnel policy meetings, March 27th and April 17th. The committee has been very diligent in reviewing, correcting, recommending potential changes. And I hope to have copies of the policy for the select board to review, maybe for the next meeting. All goes well. A lot of changes. We've looked at it pretty thoroughly.
Do we have more than Thursday or Tuesday to look at that?
Okay. I'm gonna give it to you guys to review. There's no rush in
Okay, so we're not
adopting it.
gonna act on it the same week that we get it.
I will note that there are 3 sections where you're gonna have to make a determination. Where paying out for like vacation and so on and so forth was different from the VLCT model. So you're gonna have to determine what you'd like Vernon's to be, but there's 3 sections in the policy to look at. And so you'll have plenty of time to look at that and see if you wanna take it up on the following meeting. So there's that. I had a wonderful meeting Monday, April 10th, with our state representative, Sarah Coffey. We discussed resources available to Vernon, grant opportunities that may be underutilized by small communities, and as it turns out, I thought there was one funding opportunity for the highway, but I guess the highway, our road commissioner had already applied for that. So as it turns out, there are lots of projects out there with matching grants, but none of them are anything that we currently have going. We will have some new projects in the future with the outdoor recreation master plan. Once that is completed, we'll probably have a few more resources that we can search to, find the funding for. Because at that point, those projects should be shovel-ready. And there is one grant that I've been waiting for that we can utilize, the Municipal Energy Resilience Grant. And the applications will be opening soon. That's going to be a 2-step process. So the state will be conducting an energy resilience assessment, and it will be completed, I think, by January or February is what they're projecting. And then the next step would be the implementation of the changes, which would include weatherization, thermal efficiency, supplement or replace heating systems with more efficient renewable or electric heating systems. We're talking just municipal buildings. And the upgrades can be up to $500,000. I think they're going to be awarding, I think they said this afternoon, up to 70 for Vermont. So I will be applying for that as soon as it opens. Let's see, the state of Vermont is looking to identify and collaborate with business owners that are interested in supporting electric vehicle charging. There's a lot of funding opportunities for the installation of these charging stations, especially for downtowns and village centers. They're going to be prioritized for funding. So this is something that we might want to think about when we're opening the ground to do the generator work. We can put in another conduit very cheaply to have that option, whether we want to go in that direction or not. We'd be open to be able to do that. So I can get you more information on that if you're interested. And the Southern Vermont Economy Summit Forge Our Future will be held May 23rd in Wilmington. If anyone's interested, I have additional information to register. It's a day-long event. And that's all I have.
So no. Okay, minute approval, April 4th.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the regular meeting minutes of Tuesday, April 4th as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Warrant.
I move that we approve payment of the following warrant. 20T accounts payable, $77,175.87. 14S payroll, $10,257.39. And 15S payroll, $9,666.65.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. New business.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and board members. I have before you tonight two cemetery deeds that need your approval. One is for Alyson Gunslinger, single plot and corner markers in the North Cemetery. And the second is for plots and the movement of corner markers in North Cemetery for Terry and Raymond Mercier. You'll notice a cost differential on those, and I would remind you that the 2016 town meeting established that non-residents would pay $300 per cemetery plot, while residents would pay $150 per plot, but the cost of corner markers also were added on to the overall cost.
Is there a motion to approve and sign these cemetery deeds?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. and
Thank you.
Mr. Town Clerk?
Absolutely. And I'll send them tomorrow.
Farmers Artisans Market Committee. That's a long name.
It is, we're hoping to shorten it up for you. You're gonna stand up with me?
Okay.
Hannah Rosinski and Brana.
Yeah, but I
Oh,
have to
great,
get out of
that's
the
really
way.
nice and close. So we've come today because I know there was a concern brought forward by the board with regards to the proposed Vernon Farmers / Artisan Market that a committee has gotten together for this summer in hopes to cultivate a little more community service and take advantage of all the agricultural producers that we have in town and our local artisans in an active way over the summer and fall. And Shelley's been very helpful in dealing with our last minute questions. The group itself has a nonprofit goal, and our hope was to give more exposure to the town's recreation department, use their facilities in a more effective way to meet a broader demographic of folks from our community and beyond, and to draw more folks into the pool and the recreation area, and also generate a little bit of revenue for the town rec department in the meantime. So our costs for the farmers market are quite low. As you can imagine, vendors are coming and they're bringing their 10 by 10 tents and tables, etc. And so when we went to Seth with the suggestion, he was excited about the opportunity given that it was fairly synonymous with what currently exists with the craft fair at the school that happens every winter. That it was brought forward to us that there was a concern by the board that there may be an insurance issue with vendors. So I know that Shelley's done a bunch of research for us to try to maybe mitigate that so we could see it go forward. And so we're just kind of here to answer any questions that you have about how it might function, hear what Shelley has come up with as a potential solution to this. I'll say that the initial thought was that all vendors would have to have an insurance, and that concerns us for lots of different reasons, but mostly the expense, being that we're trying to keep this a very affordable event for the vendors so that they want to continue to come back. We also don't know, given it's the first year, how successful it will be, and so we want to make sure that these folks have an opportunity to generate as much income from it as they can, bring community into a community center, and that's our goal. So adding insurance would be something that would impact that in a big way. And it may mean that we would have to go with a private entity like the Governor Hunt House or some other entity, create ourselves as a, more than just a committee, which none of us are looking to do this year. So it would be a next year thing. So we're hoping that it won't be. And I know Shelley can update us with what her thoughts are, and if you have any questions for Bron or myself about the functioning of the market. We've done, I think, a pretty good job vetting it, so feel free to fire away. So.
All right, so what I found out was, first of all, like any event that's held on town property, the select board needs to approve it. That's very minimal. The second thing I was made very aware of was if it's a farmer's market, they need to register with the state, and then comes all the certifications for like scales and so on and so forth. However, if it's not a farmer's market and it's an artisan's market, that would be more doable. So I did consult with our town attorney, who felt that if we were to take the food truck vendor ordinance and permit that I had put into place and created, well, you guys put into place, but I created it, and take that permit form and use it to mitigate some of the liability as they're signing off, and there's a clause at the bottom. That would be fine for folks that are residents. However, once you get folks that are coming from out of town and that are commercial,
Okay,
we'd have a separate permit for them. Those would be the folks that would have to get the insurance
okay,
because they're on a different scale.
okay.
And he thought that would be appropriate. And so I had put 2 permits in your packet for you to review, and ultimately it's board's
Have you
decision.
seen these? Have they seen these?
No, they haven't.
Want to see mine?
Pretty basic.
Pretty basic.
So can I just ask a quick question? So you said residents and commercial, so residents separate than commercial, but if they're non-residents, they also need to come up?
Correct.
Okay, so it's a non-resident vendor and,
People who are coming from the outside, who are there just to make money, not residents who are there, to help the community.
okay,
And to promote, whatever.
okay,
Whatever they have to offer the
Okay.
community. That was his thoughts. I was hoping to have him here to answer any questions, but he did not respond to my email.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Do you anticipate having like other farms come into town?
So the way we currently have it set up was that we've actually had very limited interest from the farmers themselves because it's another thing to take on, obviously. And with the inception of COVID, there's come a lot of regulation with that, and people have a lot of their own farm stands. Shelley Harvey, Dunkley Harvey, that heads up the Farm Picked group, represents a bunch of other farms. And so what her hope was, and what she said she'd be willing to do, would be to change the CSA pickup for her people that she's already has a CSA for to the farmer's market. And she would also represent whatever goods that they wanted to sell on site as a branch of her existing business. So she has the business, she'd get more of the produce accessible to her clientele on that day and be able to offer a range of products from the local farms that she's already representing. She is a resident, so I don't know how that would be viewed, because it's essentially her business and she's, it's transferring to her hands essentially. But that would be a question. So that is the bulk of what we've seen for farmer participation. So I feel pretty confident that changing the name would be okay. Because it is going to be mostly artisans and food vendor. And, with that, we were thinking, and I haven't looked at this completely yet, but the other language that I found under the Farmers Association of Vermont, they've got some pretty good, a lot of the markets tend to use a hold harmless agreement. And in that, they stipulate that anyone that's involved in agricultural, production that needs to adhere to the current standards put forth by the USDA, et cetera, et cetera. And then anyone that has any baking, it needs to be, they need to have a home license, and they can look into the state of Vermont's guidance on that and all of those sorts of things. So we could add a disclaimer to that effect to add an additional guarantee. That's what they suggest doing. I actually brought that with me, that language that a lot of their hold harmlesses have also. And we can do that in cadence with what the town's doing or as a separate agreement, so.
So my understanding also is that, farmers markets are regulated by the state. So have you pursued what that involves?
The farmer's market itself, I spoke to the head of the Farmers Market Association for the state of Vermont.
Okay.
And he said he actually didn't say that we had to be licensed with the state, and that there are some towns that do their individual thing. Maybe their name is different, but they carry produce. But he did say that, he encouraged us to, you know, go forth if we needed to, or if we wanted to. And he just gave us the same language that, you know, turned me on to some of the sites that I had already visited with regards to, you know, language to use in a liability agreement and those sorts of things. He did say that if you're looking to generate income and become a farmer's market independent organization, that's obviously different because you're then you're generating profit that supports the market, and that wasn't our intention. Our intention was to have a community event for a change post-COVID that got everyone together. And to be quite frank about it, I was actually a little shocked at the amount of legislation or rules around having the safety of this when I look at, you know, community potlucks and everything else that we had before. I mean, I don't know about you, but there's some dishes at community potlucks that I'm not going to take a risk on. So I feel okay about a canned good in comparison. So, you know, I guess, you know, that is where we fell short, was not, I guess, looking into that more and treating it the same way that we treated the, you know, annual Christmas fair. And, you know, we're all much wiser as a result, and I appreciate her last minute research. And if it's not something that we can do this year, we're willing to accept that. We've already notified all of our vendors that have already sent in seasonal to secure spots that this might not happen. But I would be doing the town a disservice, and all the people that have come to me and said, hey, I'm really excited about being there Wednesday night and eating my food and having my kids swim and my kids playing on the playground and, you know, da-da-da-da-da. I'd be doing them a disservice if I didn't come here and just make the ploy so that even if it means next year, that, you know, we can have all our ducks in a row, so.
I just want to say that Vernon Artisans Market is mine, and I don't think it's an appropriate name for this. I think something like Vernon Community Market or Vernon Market, because I think Artisans narrows it. And I don't know, some people who, I consider myself an artisan, but some people may not consider, even though they have crafts or, I don't know. But, so I'm hesitant to say that that's the name of it. I'd rather have something generic or, you know, like, and since we are emphasizing it's a community thing, I think something like a Vernon Community Market is much more appropriate. We want people to come. Because my experience with artisan is people don't really understand what it is. You know, and is it only for them? You know, so that's why I want to put that community in there.
Michael?
I think it's a great idea. It's like, and I like what Shelley did to protect the town for it.
Brandon?
No, I think it's a great idea. Just if we can find the simplest path forward for these folks who are trying to make this work, I think
That's what he does, that's what I'm saying.
I agree completely.
That's all you're gonna say?
Yep.
My goodness.
Wow.
Excuse us, but he never says that little. Gene?
It's such a good idea. There's no reason to, nothing to add.
Good job.
I agree.
So you have our support.
Awesome, thanks, appreciate it.
And thank you for the hard work. Which you
Yeah.
tell me that you're going to do.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about it.
Move on the permits.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to move on permits.
No, I had another, do we need to move to authorize them to go down there pending this? That was my, I didn't. I thought somebody else was gonna pick up on that, so that's all.
Yeah, I guess my question too is, you know, if, do they have to, can they apply for this permit with just you, or is this something that has to get approved by the select board?
That's something that
Okay.
if the select board approves the permit, I
Okay.
can relinquish the custody of it to you folks. However, once you have the signed permit, if there's any liability concern after the fact, if you can submit a copy to the treasurer, because she's the one who handles all the insurance
Okay,
stuff, just so
gotcha.
she has a record of it.
Yep. And I'm just wondering, what, you know, what you would like for a due date on this, so just think about that. What would make sense for you to have this enough in advance where you feel comfortable?
When they sign up for
Okay.
it, just have them
Okay.
sign it, fill it out, just.
Okay.
You're gonna do this
Basically,
weekly, right?
It's the first and third Wednesday of every month,
Alright,
yeah,
yeah.
until October, yep.
Are we
Is our
gonna
hope.
start the 24th, which isn't the 1st and 3rd of
Right,
May.
except
We have
for May.
Our schedule is kind of, we're starting on the 24th of May, and then it's the 1st and 3rd Wednesday.
We wanted to get a May in there before the holidays,
Yeah.
so.
And just before the holidays.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be October 4th.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the forms like P anyway.
Michael?
Sorry, I'm doing work stuff at the same time.
I'm sorry.
No. How do I want to do this? I move that we allow Vermont Artisans, whatever they want to be called, to have their event on the rec property as long as they use the 2 permits supplied.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
Tom?
Nothing. Any discussion? All those in favor, Michael?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Everybody?
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you guys. You're doing all the hard work.
Yay.
This one did it.
Yay. Although I apparently missed our meeting today.
She told me there was a meeting this morning at 8:30. I was here, right, Tim? Oh, he's not here.
Just want to show you some of this.
So I left.
Association, and I can send you a copy of this, but this is the additional language, and just let me know if you think that it would be prudent to add it.
Madam Chair and Select Board members, we have 2 items on the, from the Planning Commission on the agenda. One is the state hazard mitigation recommendations. Unfortunately, the person that was responsible for doing that at the last, prior to the last Planning Commission meeting, was absent from the meeting. He's been reprimanded for that, and we'd like to bring it up at the next meeting. Technically, the report was due tomorrow, but I called up Vermont Emergency Management, and they said they were flexible on it as long as we sent information that they, would help them with formulating a state plan. And regarding the other item, Stevens and Associates proposal, they presented a proposal to the Planning Commission to look at the Vermont Yankee site and evaluate the stuff that's there. It was pretty extensive, and fortunately Corey, the site manager, was at the Planning Commission meeting, and he said that a lot of the stuff that they were going to look into that North Star had already done, and they had records that they were willing to give to the town, specifically regarding the wells and the stuff that really gets expensive when you're going to check it out. And so they're going to send that information to us on the Planning Commission, and we'll hit you next time with recommendations. If Stevens and Associates is appropriate, which might not be if we have enough information on these documents, then we'll just bring that to you, regarding that stuff.
So you don't want us to?
Act on anything tonight.
No, I'd rather you didn't.
Excellent.
You might want to reprimand the absentee from the Planning Commission
that
meeting
you?
last time, but he promises not to let that happen again.
You're okay, Jim.
All right.
Okay, we'll table that. Windham Solid Waste Management Supervisory Board appointment, Sandra Rulewich.
Madam Chair,
Sir,
I move that we reappoint Sandra Rulewich to the Supervisory Board at Windham Solid Waste Management.
do we have a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor, Michael?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jean? Thank you. Sandra, if you're listening, you're on. If not, you're on. Local Emergency Management Plan Annual Adoption. You all have a copy of it, submitted by Emergency Management Director. What is your pleasure?
Move we readopt, I guess, the local emergency management annual plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
There's been changes, the name's changed.
Yeah. It's updated.
So does that not need to be marked since there has been changes? Because you're not on it and somebody else is now, so it's a change.
Right.
Right? There's a box checker here that says there's no changes. No changes
Oh,
from the previous
readopted
year.
has no changes since
Oh.
previous year.
Well,
I will have to contact David on
Well,
that.
the plan has no changes.
It sure did.
The names.
The names of the names.
Contact people.
Contacts, the people.
All right, I
Part of the
guess.
plan.
Yeah, I guess, all right.
So these people are still,
These are the people now.
Yeah, the fire chief's been added instead of the select board chair. It used to be the
And the
select board chair,
others
now
are
it's the
still-
fire chief.
the same?
Hmm?
Are all the others still the same?
David's.
The other
name.
two are still the same, yes.
So white out the box.
Do that. Do that.
Fine with that. As long as David is.
I have a question on this, and do you think that we should adopt this? This is ancillary to that, but once the generator is up, any of this would change at all?
No, because the address or anything's not in it.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. Our address here is 6-something, right?
567.
Yeah, so this is the house up the street, so
Right,
that's
so
the only
this
thing
is,
that
we're a
will
year out
change.
anyways, it
Yeah.
was just a question, that's
Yeah,
all.
the address will definitely change.
Okay. Move that we readopt the annual plan, with the corrections as noted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? No more. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. I can't sign this one, I scribbled on it.
You have a copy?
I'll sign on the way out.
Okay.
Okay. Conservation Commission, Norman.
Hi. There's no doubt that Lily Pond runs deep in the heritage of our community. It's the reason, as a newcomer, I started the Vernon, Vermont Nature Finds, because I felt that it deserved an honor and a respect that it wasn't receiving at the time that I formulated that idea. It's the reason why I came forward for the Conservation Commission, because I felt that this was at a community, a wildlife and fisheries community that deserved preservation. And since then, it's also come to light that this isn't just the kettle pond that other towns have, that this is the sole example of an outwash plain pond shore in the state of Vermont. It is valuable. It needs to be cared for, cherished. I don't know anyone who doesn't have a memory, a resident who doesn't have a memory of Lily Pond. I have a dear friend who used to play there as a magical kingdom as a child, and her grandchildren hunt there. There's duck hunters, there's fishing, there's recreation there, but there's a preservation that is imperative. So much so that the state has purchased the Skibnowski property on the opposite bank of the west bank of the pond. Knowing this, the Conservation Commission is requesting that we fulfill one of our missions in educating the community about why this is important, why it should be cherished, and hopefully going forward, why people shouldn't leave their garbage there, shouldn't abuse it. I personally feel, speaking just for myself, that it's better to tell people what they can do and not what they can't do in an area. I believe that when people understand the unique qualities of this area within our community, that they will learn to love it and respect it as much as I do, and as much as many of us do, sportsmen, recreation, and environmentalists. I'm here to ask that the town grant us permission to put an educational sign on the property. I've contacted the state wetlands biologist, who has said that that would be permitted in the parking area. I have reached out to the town and requested that an unused kiosk be given to the commission, since we don't have a budget and right now we don't have any discretionary funds at all, that we can take that and install it, hopefully on Green Up Day, which the commission has reserved that parcel of asked to have that municipal area for us to pick up and clean up and begin the care of. We've already held events with town officials there to identify invasive species that threaten the pond, and we will take the opportunity to survey that again and to review what we may in the future come forward with a proposal for another work day with the community to teach about invasive species and the importance of ridding the pond of those. On another note, and at the select board's pleasure, we have also discussed a possibility of setting guidelines there. We know that that is your purview, but we would be willing, if the sign doesn't appear to have the impact that we hoped for, to institute positive language to help guide people, such as pack in, pack out, take only pictures. Vegetation is to be left there, things like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, what is your pleasure?
That includes asking for the kiosk.
Yeah.
Based on
You wanted to do.
Okay, board, what is your pleasure on the kiosk?
I would say to let them move it down there. It's not being used at
No.
all, so if that's something you find usable,
That's your
I
motion?
think you should take it. My motion would be to allow the Conservation Commission to move the kiosk from the town garage to the lily pond.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor, Michael?
Aye.
Vernon?
Aye.
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 The motion carries unanimously. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Not reading it.
Okay, Native Current Trust. Request to conduct a survey at 607 Pond Road of Scarlet Oak.
She's on there.
Oh,
That would be me. Thank you for having me tonight virtually. So hi, my name is Elena Bandienza and I work with the Native Plant Trust in Framingham, Mass. I'm their Atkinson Conservation intern for this year, and so part of my job is securing permissions for the properties that we're hoping to go send our volunteer botanists out to survey. So with the help of Vermont Natural Heritage Programs, we've noticed that there is a population of scarlet oak that's partially located at 607 Pond Road, and so I'm just here tonight hoping to get either verbal or written permission to send our trained volunteer botanists out to survey this habitat of rare plant. And then if I get permission to find out if you folks would like an emailed report at the end of the season and who I can send that report to.
board?
What all does this happens with this? Like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, so we have a team of either 3 to 4 volunteer botanists that are trained with the Native Plant Trust. And they'll come out once and see if the plants are there. They'll take down some data, just recording essentially where the population is and however many individuals there are. And then they'll submit that data to us and we can compile it into a report and send it to you.
Thank you.
Where is 607
It's the
Pond
pool.
Road?
It's the rec area.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's the rec area.
So probably the woods behind it.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea, but I think it needs to be coordinated with the rec director.
Yes.
I'm sure that Shelley could include that in the letter.
Yep, I can do that.
But
I can let him
this is a
know.
great thing.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move that we allow the Native Plant Trust to survey the land at 607 Pond Road for a plant called the Scarlet Oak, coordinating with the rec director.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there further discussion? All those in favor, Michael?
Aye.
Sandra?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much, and Shelley will be getting a letter out to you, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Okay, town administrator, request to advertise for a custodian.
Okay, so we no longer have a custodian, and I need to put it out again, but just
I'm
need
sorry.
permission to move forward with that, if that's okay with the board.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, Michael?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, the town of Vernon, board commission committees policy. This sort of started because I was thinking, we appoint all these people to these committees, but they may not know that they have to post the meetings, keep minutes, submit minutes. So Shelley very graciously wrote this up. It's kind of like reading everybody can read the rest of the other people can.
I know, I couldn't.
Same thing with playing piano, it's fine. So what if you're, it's killing me not to speak, so go ahead, Tom.
I don't think the title of this conveys these are the only policies of the boards. That concerns me.
Okay.
And I know that's wordsmithing, but it just,
It's just the draft.
It's just,
yeah, meeting and expenditure policy or something like that.
I can change the title to whatever
Yeah.
we feel
That's
appropriate.
good, I just, there may be other policies that boards have or that are,
Probably.
yeah, that's all.
we were tweaking this then.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we should do more than a 2-day advance for regular meetings to give people time to plan. We do ours, what a week?
That is
That's a
statute.
state law.
Open meeting
That's a
law.
state statute.
You gotta post it 2 days in advance.
Okay, but we can be more lenient, right? Why can't we if it's our policy?
It's a state statute.
Yeah, it's
So we
usually
can
just
put it
required
this.
that you follow the state.
You have to follow the state law. You
Yes.
can't be more
That's open meeting law.
stringent or liberal than the state
Yes.
law.
And they've obviously
Can we-
changed it.
Because
I
this
know. I
isn't
wish
the
I could
Dillon
change it.
state.
We can't write in there to encourage to do it earlier for people?
So when did they change it from 5 days for a regular meeting, 2 days for a special meeting, and 24 hours if possible for emergency?
That's a good question for Tim, because he was the one who clarified it for me.
Yeah.
We have some
2 days,
clarification to
2
do.
days forever. A long time.
Yeah.
2 days for a long time,
Really?
for a regular meeting.
Yeah, it's been That's been a while.
Okay. So
5 days is the minutes.
Right. Is there anything else to come before this? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's not debatable, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:03.